Right into the song. Okay. That's right. So, last time, quick recap of the session before the last session. You may recall that the players had commandeered a boat that they had, that some pirates were on. Some pirates who intended to take over Fort Heffiel, the party's fort. Party commandeered their boat, took it up towards this fleet that has invaded the bay and was kind of blockading this port city of Castel. Down just another notch. And they saw how big the fleet was, took a big U-turn, came back as one of the characters kind of was thinking, the new Emperor of Eden, the new Emperor of the party's hometown. It's kind of like thinking about things. They suddenly had a vision of a weapon that they could potentially use to kind of scare away the fleet instead of engaging them directly. It's just like an extra negotiating chip. So they turned around and came back to the fort. The last session was a little bit of them doing research on this. Solus had originally had a vision of seeing this in a book. Saw some tendrils coming up out of the water in a place in this fjord here. And he, you talking about pirates reminded me of this, but I raided Roxy recently, and he sang me a shanty after I told him you speak highly of his shanty singing. It was great. That's fantastic. Good. I love everything about all of what you just said. So, party did some research using their handy-dandy portal to return from Fort Heffiel over to Eden, over to home base. Looked through some of the previous Emperor's books, and they found the same-ish drawing, but instead of tendrils coming out of the water, it was just kind of a scaled serpent spine, fins and stuff. And there was an entry that said it just said 2 miles out from the tip of this peninsula. All the details it had. So the party thought about what they would need. A little proud of them for this. They were like, okay, so do we think this is underwater? Or are we assuming it's underwater? Yes, we assume it's underwater. So they grabbed a bunch of water-breathing potions. And they then, portaged a boat. Again, took the portal back to Fort Heffiel. Took a boat overland, and then sailed it right on down to the peninsula. And then out. And Solus was like, okay, so we're here. How do we get down there? How do we know we're in the right spot? And he was like, Sonus took a snooze during this. Yeah, a little bit. They had these water-breathing potions, but Solus was also like, the crystal seems pretty good. Do I feel anything? Do I feel any familiarity here? I asked him to spend a hero point to activate his extra abilities that I've started to add for being the Emperor. It's kind of these information gathering abilities. Gets to sort of query the information, the previous Emperor's body of knowledge a little bit remotely. In a way that's usually at least somewhat helpful. And I said, yeah, you hear this vibrating in your bag. And if you go looking through it, yeah, the crystal is resonating here as well. So the party had a way in. They had 2 ways in. I was proud of them for setting up this water breathing potion thing, but then he discovered my backup plan anyway. And then he did an arcane check, activated this crystal, and a portal just ripped open in the water near the boat. That allowed them to jump right down to the dungeon. Let's see. Connor, avert your eyes for a moment, and any other players who happen to be here, while I switch over to this, I should be doing this under camera instead of GM, but I'm going to switch over to the cave. So, party ended up... Oh, there's so many spoilers here. Oh, God. Oh. Okay. So they ended up here-ish. Sonus took a snooze during this? He did. Party got shooped down to this here dungeon. Started walking around pretty quickly with this entrance. Pretty quickly they ran upon this room where there's this like big chair, bunch of crystals behind it, and this like arcane, the stasis servitor here. And yeah, there was a person sitting on this chair, a woman with like kind of a messy blonde hair, who was like seemed to be asleep. Solus tried to do a medicine check and determined that they were hard to say if they were alive or dead, because there was like this stasis barrier around them. They were kind of like in suspended animation. So they were like, okay, how do we get them out of this? And as per usual with this party, they came up with like 3 solutions. 1, smash the crystals. Worm, Nathan's character, started doing that. Like, smash one of the crystals, everything flickered, this person stirred a little bit, and then Solus is like, whoa, hold on, wait, don't just go smashing these crystals willy-nilly. Smash the runes instead. So then he like raised his axe to chop the runes, and then he's like, wait. I'm so dumb. I'm so silly. I have Dispel Magic. I can just Dispel Magic. And Worm's like, I smash the runes. And later we talked about this, and they were like, yeah, I don't know. It's like there's a new party member, and it's like kind of confusing how we get them out. And I took objection to this objection that it was confusing because they came up with 3 different solutions to like waking this person up, and all of them were viable. All of them worked. And they just kind of half pulled each thread instead of like following through until the point where it like the thing happened. So that was a little disagreement there about how difficult it was to wake this person up. Not as difficult as it happens as waking up Sonus, who did take a little bit of a nap. Sonus was the harder body to stir than the person magically in stasis. So they woke this person up, found out that they have some beef with the Emperor. They weren't super clear on what, I don't think. I think it was kind of clear that the Emperor is the one that put this person in stasis, but maybe that wasn't clear. But anyway, that's the case. It probably became clear when, like, they woke this person up and this servitor started to wake up and started to turn around and was like, Subject Loki, which happened to be their name. Oh, it was a higher voice. Subject Loki. Unexpectedly awoken and unexpected guests present. Please sit back down in the chair and I will resume stasis. Said something about the Emperor not being present. I feel like this conveyed that, yeah, the Emperor put this person in stasis pretty clearly. And it looked like it was going to be a fight. Till Worm was like, no, I'm the Emperor. It's fine. I'm the Emperor. I'm the new Emperor. Just chill out. The servitor was like, that is unlikely to be true. And like took another threatening step. And then Solus was like, okay, he's an idiot, but I'm the Emperor. I like actually am the Emperor. And they looked over. It looked over and it saw that Solus was carrying Aberys Kane's staff. Aberys Kane was a companion of the previous Emperor. And something else. Oh yeah, the crystal. The crystal that they've been using to kind of teleport around a little bit. And they used to get down here. And the servitor was like, it has been determined that yes, you are likely the new Emperor. You have a couple of effects close to the Emperor. So, yes. Do you have any further orders for my operations here? And Solus was like, yeah, just patrol and protect. And so the servitor walked here into this hallway that's too narrow for them, walked over here to this hallway that is too narrow for them, and walked over here to this hallway that is too narrow for them. And returned back here and fell back asleep. While all of this was going on, Werham's blood axe of the blood god, had been like dribbling some blood on the ground at a faster rate than perhaps as usual. He's the only one who noticed this somehow. Everyone else was way too enthralled with what was happening over here. And yeah, little blood portal opened up on the ground, and this guy, I am a Joker, Connor. I'm pretty funny, yeah. Yeah, a little blood portal opened on the ground, and this guy, this thing that looked like kind of a weird proto-elf, like jumped out, like up to half his body, tried to like grab the axe, but Worham saw it and moved away. And they had a pretty brief but tense conversation, being like, I see you have my brother's axe, which was a red flag for Worham, because this thing that came out of a little blood portal is suggesting that he is brothers with a forgotten dead god contained partially in this axe. To Worm's understanding, these forgotten gods are not, they're no good. They're not great. They're kind of bad. So there's that. He's like, no. Oh yeah. And he was like, you can have this person that I've been feeding off of, Loki, who was in the chair. You can have them, but in return, give me this axe. And Worham was like, no. No, I'm gonna keep the axe. I don't think my guy would be very happy if I gave you his axe. So we're not gonna do that. And then there was like, it kept speaking. Sonus used like a spell that kind of like, I think it's a bludgeoning damage spell. Yeah, like punched a hole in him and he kind of like looked and it's like, oh, it's inconvenient. Reached over to where like his blown apart, like mud, blood body thing was, like where the arm got kind of blown off. Touched it, reabsorbed the material, reformed his arm, said some more. There was a little more back and forth. And then Solus shot it with a magic arrow. And it, like, kind of, the pool kind of, lost its perfectly circular shape and started to kind of like coalesce in the more in the corner of the room, more in the direction the room was tilting. And they kind of looked at it uncomfortably for a minute and then moved on, leaving the servitor to sleep. They moved up this way. Let's avoid that. All right. And yeah, so they saw where'd he go? They saw a construct that looked like a ball with just a bunch of blades in here. They were like, oh god. Okay, there's like a lot of blood, like really old dried blood here. There's some skeletons in the corner. And we saw this little like blade construct, this floating orb of blades, like moving this way. Apparently there's some defenses active here. And they moved by cautiously. Ish. Got up to here, and this is where we ended the session. Solus was walking through as I was describing this big statue to Sonus of, I guess they're both kind of big. This statue just leaning in the hall, like in this cave hallway, holding its head, covering its face. So everyone was like, I don't really like that. That's not great. Solus walked on by, came around the corner, saw this other statue around the corner, and I described this one as like, I described the statue having like kind of red tendrils around it, kind of like dull, dark red tendrils. And the end of the session was Solus coming around the corner, seeing this other statue, and this one down here animating, removing its hands from its face, which I described as having no face, just kind of smooth on the front, and like reaching towards Solus. And that's where we cut it. So we'll be starting next session right off with a fight with rolling initiative against these two giant animated statues, and that's kind of where we were at. So, we mentioned that. Yeah, the party's purpose is they're looking for some kind of bioweapon in here. They suspected they would find like a kraken down here, or something, and that's what brings them down here, and they're still looking for that. They haven't found it so far. Instead, they found this Loki person. Oh, I've just missed so many details. Loki was a servant of Scala before they were sealed away. No, that really about covers it. They're an ASMR who used to serve Scala. They were something of a demigod, minor deity back in the day, and now they've lost like nearly all of their power. And it was, shortly after they mentioned that, where the the blood god brother popped up and was like, hey, you woke up my meal, stop that. So that could be related. Yeah, that about covers that session. I think I'm not forgetting anything too impactful, Connor, as far as you're aware. But yeah. Now with that said, we'll move on to prep. I have to, like, the dungeon's here. It's got enemies. I'm not going to add any more enemies to it. I am going to, like, fill out some treasure. Not that I personally remember. You seem to cover it. Great. Great. So, we'll be filling this out with treasure. And really, that's kind of it. Yeah. So, we'll come back and do that. Yep. All right. I, like, kept thinking that there was something I needed to go say, but just, I don't know. That's basically it. Pretty simple.